What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to stay daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video, because whenever there's Ravens news, I will come out with a video. Joshua and I will come out with a video, depending on if we're both available, and we will be talking about that as soon as possible. There is no news today, or at least none that I've seen. Obviously, Sam Cook retired yesterday, so it's really sad to see that. However, I want to be talking about something that I really believe, which is the Ravens still have one more move to go. I still think they're going to make one more. I don't know if we can call it a splash, because a lot of the players left. They wouldn't really be splash players. I think that Marcus Williams was a splash. I don't think Morgan Moses was a splash. I think it was a great signing. I think we can get one more great signing for the Baltimore Ravens to come, and I will be getting into that very shortly. Quick things before we end up doing, the full episode, guys. We're going to be doing a live discussion over on Airtime tonight, so if you want to join that, make sure to do so. If not, totally fine. No worries if that's just not something you're into, totally okay. But the other thing is, guys, we set up the website for selling merch. So if you guys want to get something like this hat or something like that, go right ahead. And at the same time, if you don't want to get merch, that's totally okay, guys. We respect you all no matter what you decide. We're just, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And the fact that we've even been able to come out with any merch is an accomplishment for us in and of itself. So if you want to check it out, please do so. If you're good, you're all set, that's also totally fine. Also, we have this bucket hat. I'm just going to throw it on for like half a second. But check it out if you want. Link is in the description. But let's get into this video. I apologize for the long intro. This was the first video talking about the new website. But let's get into it. Why do I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to make a splash? One, it's because this is now the time of year where the Ravens like to get their signings, right? Justin Houston last year was a player that didn't get signed in free agency, didn't get signed, during the draft. It waited a while. Why? Because the Ravens were trying to weigh their options. And that's something that Eric DeCosta has always loved to do. He wants to see everything in front of him. He doesn't want to blindly go into free agency, blindly go into the trade market with binoculars on one player. Even if the player might be great, right? Even if it may be the Ravens went into free agency and they were like, Marcus Williams, goggles on. This looks terrible in the video. I apologize for that. I'm never doing that again. But basically, they went into it and they were looking at Tyrann Mathieu and they were looking at the other safety prospects. And then they ended up going with Marcus, which I think is a great move. But overall, they like to get all of their options. Now, they did tender, I think a lot of people are forgetting, they tendered Justin Houston. And Justin Houston it appears he hasn't really been talking with anybody else, so my assumption is he'll be here. That's not the splash that I'm talking about. There are a lot of players still available that are good football players. I think the best one still available is Odell Beckham Jr. Now, Odell Beckham Jr. has expressed that he would love to play with Lamar Jackson. He is coming off of injury. He won't be able to play likely until November. But with the way this roster is set up, we should be good. We should be able to make the playoffs. I fully expect to make the playoffs with this roster. And if we could add Odell to a late season, postseason run, I think that would be really beneficial. The other players that are available are guys like Judean Clowney. He's another player. Somebody I believe it was Chris Reed in the Airtime, he brought up John Ross. Now, a lot of these players, guys, that are going to be mentioned, guys like Anthony Barr and things of that nature, these guys are older, or maybe they have some injury history. That's not what I'm saying when I'm saying a big move. I'm saying the big move is going out and getting someone that I think can be an impact player and taking that chance. I think taking a chance is a big move. All right? Whether or not it works out is besides the point, in my opinion. If the Ravens go out and get themselves a John Ross or a Will Fuller, a deep threat with a little bit of an injury history, That's great in my opinion. Now, if they end up getting hurt, that's unfortunate. However, them taking that risk, because I love the receivers that we currently have. But if we can get another guy just in the locker room, I think that's going to be beneficial. And I think that's a big move. Getting a veteran wide receiver, if they get one, that when they're on the field, they can make an impact, right? Remember when we signed Seth Roberts? Seth Roberts, he played, but the issue was he wasn't able to make an impact. Whereas a guy like a Will Fuller, when he gets on the field, he's going to make an impact at least as that deep threat. All right, that's more valuable to me than getting a guy that we have signed so often in years past. Guys like Sammy Watkins wasn't a big impact player, right? We need someone that we sign, if we sign a wide receiver, to be an impact. When Odell gets onto the field, he's going to be an impact player. You know, I think Julio Jones would be an impact type of player. So that's the type of thing that I mean when I say Ravens will make one more big move. It's for an impact player. It's not going to be a veteran that, you know, we won't really see do anything and then ends up getting hurt, and then it's like, okay, whatever, that was a waste of time. But there's guys, okay? Judean Clowney is another player. I think Judean Clowney is still a solid football player. Now, is he the number one overall pick, hopeful, that so many people had for him? You know, when he was coming out of South Carolina, ends up going to the Houston Texans? No, he's not that guy. But he's still good. He's a freak athlete that can stop the run. What do the Ravens like? Freak athletes and stopping the run. That could be a player that the Ravens go after. And they may not need him in passing situations, but they could use him as a QB spy. They can use him in early down situations, and they can use him with an Odafe Owe. And while we're waiting for David Ojabo to get healthy, and we could have like a Justin Houston, Jadeveon Clowney kind of tandem, where Justin Houston, he's more the pass rushing side, Jadeveon Clowney's more the run stuffing side. Like, it could be a really good dynamic duo. There's a lot of players the Ravens can still go after in just the free agency market. There's also guys who are going to get cut. There's going to be a lot of guys that get cut. Last year, J.J. Watt got cut. Last year, the center, Rodney Hudson, from the Raiders got cut. Ended up going to the Arizona. I think both of them went to the Cardinals, funny enough. But overall, like, guys get cut that are good football players. The Ravens can go after those players. That's why they like to save their money. They don't want to use everything up right away. There's also potential trade opportunities that free up space. Sam Cook retiring, I believe, freed up around $2 million for the Ravens, which obviously is not a ton of money. However, a guy like John Ross was on a $1 million contract last year. You know, getting a player that is on a prove-it deal for $1 million could be an impact big signing because it's on a prove-it deal. All right? I think overall, guys, there's still going to be moves that are made by the Ravens, and everyone's kind of acting like we're on the final set roster. We're not on the final set roster. There are so many good players that the Ravens, there's other players, you know, that I don't, like, I don't think Gronk is coming to Baltimore. I love Gronk, but I don't think he's coming to Baltimore. I think he's retiring or staying in Tampa. Like, that's kind of my thoughts on it. So, overall, there's players. The Ravens like to make moves later, right? They're sitting there, and they like to weigh their options. Like I said, they don't want to go. I'm not putting up the binoculars again. That looked ridiculous. But they're not going to go out there and be like, all right, we need an edge rusher. Let's look at Jadeveon Clowney. No. They brought in some undrafted free agents. They drafted some players, and they want to see what they have. You know, hey, maybe Dalen Hayes is able to come back and he's really good. Well, maybe they don't need an edge rusher anymore because they're going to watch what they have and figure out what need they need to fill, right? They don't want to be stuck in a situation where maybe they say, we need an edge rusher because, you know, our second round pick, David Ojabo, isn't going to be available for, you know, a while. So we need an edge rusher. So maybe they sign a guy and they use up all their remaining money. Maybe it's Jadeveon Clowney, whoever. All of a sudden, they realize when they're in camp, man, Sack Daddy has really stepped up this year. He's actually a really good player. He needs to see the field. Also, Dalen Hayes has been fantastic. He also needs to see the field. And all of a sudden, a guy that you brought in, like a Jadeveon Clowney, is like, we didn't really need him. We could have waited and found out that the guys that we have are actually really good. I'm not saying those players will turn into great players. You know, whether or not they do, that's up to them. However, the Ravens like to keep their options open, and when they figure out what it is that they need, maybe because they want to see the wide receivers they have. They brought in a lot of undrafted free agent wide receivers. They drafted, last year, a couple wide receivers the year before that. They want to see what those guys are all about before they end up going to try and sign someone. If they realize, you know what, Prochet and Tylan Wallace and Duvernay, they haven't taken the step we were hoping for, that's when they'll start making those calls to Odell, Julio, John Ross, Will Fuller, Emmanuel Sanders, whoever it is, whatever wide receiver you want, maybe T.Y. Hilton, whoever it is. That's the type of thing that they are going to wait to do. But just because they wait doesn't mean it won't happen. Guys, I really think the Ravens are still going to make one more big move. Is it going to be a splash? No, but it's going to be big and it's going to be impactful to the Baltimore Ravens season this year. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. Check out the airtime. We're going to be going live tonight, probably around, I'm going to guess, around 8 p.m. So check it out. It's in the description. Thank you so much, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.